What if I tell you that your whole personal world is not real? Your world, as you're perceiving it, is 90% made up. I say 90% because that's what science can prove so far. There's actually more than that, it's the whole thing. But let me stick to science. I made a video not yesterday, the previous day, talking about this if you want to check on this part. But basically, if you want to understand right now what you're seeing on the screen, everything you see is all the time basically your senses capturing some information, and very quickly your brain with a little bit of information making 90% of your experience, your brain alone, made out of memories, made out of associations. That's what we all live in the same place, maybe in the same moment, but we live completely different experiences. Some people really enjoy their life, some people don't. Actually, most people actually don't really enjoy their life fully. But you can. That's the reason for this video. You can absolutely kill it in this life. In the sense, you can live the life you want. And this is not exactly what you think it means. I'm not saying that you should pursue a life of more money or better relationships or getting a status in society or fixing this problem, that problem. No, no. What it makes you free is to understand what the problem is. And the problem is that you don't see the cause of what you are perceiving this simulated reality, which we call real. But have you noticed how different your experience is from a moment to another moment? One day you're sad, one day you're happy. All that, the same way that if you compare to another person living in the same place as you, is also different. All that is made up. By made up, I mean it's an interpretation. It's not real. It's an opinion. And if you want to be free, you have to be free of your own opinions. So what I'm saying is that, and this is a very, very hard pill to swallow, talking about the stuff you don't like in your life, not having enough money, these relationships that aren't working, problems at work, any kind of thing in the real world you're just making a huge effort to fix. Here's the thing. You don't know this, but if you want to be free, you have to understand that in this fast processing of your perception of the moment, you are creating the problem. So the problem is not really there. And you would say, you don't understand my life. This really happened to me. And this situation is happening to me and it's really bad. And I feel a victim. I feel disempowered. And I can't do anything about it. It's gonna be horrible and so on. You know, this kind of line of thoughts. Well, I'm saying, no. No. The real question, do you want to be free? Because if you want to be free, you need to question the way you see things. If you're not ready to question the way you see things, then you're not going to be free. Because there's this effect that is happening very quickly. I'm talking about milliseconds in your perception. And that is creating your experience of the world. So that's why we sit to meditate with the hope of noticing moment by moment this building up of your world and how something appears, something disappears, your thoughts appears. This whole thing is just moving continuously, appearing and disappearing, even your own personal world. Every night when you go to sleep, it certainly does. And it certainly, when you wake up, it just appears suddenly, the whole world with all your problems and with everything. Were they while you were sleeping? Well, so the magic, the key to freedom is to understand, is to see your hand throwing the stone before blaming the ripple. And what I'm saying, I will guess like 90% of people don't want to hear. So I'm seeing the people dropping out of this video at this point. Because what I'm saying is all these uncomfortable problems we spend so much time fighting and they're actually self-created. But the reason why this is something I would suggest you to consider is because that's actually how you can become free of it. If you understand the real cause. What we normally blame as the cause is an effect of something deeper. I made a video exactly about that yesterday. on how we have hidden deep in our minds this original thought, you could call it, this original set of me, this memory of separation. It is right down deep in your mind. It's just unconscious. And what most of the time we just see, no, this person did something to me. I feel bad because of this situation. I feel, no, you never feel bad of a situation. What you feel is your reaction to it. And the only way of changing that is by paying a lot of attention to what's happening inside of you and outside you at the same time, always. And over time, whether practicing meditation, which is basically is abstracting this concept into just sitting and really, really try to maximize your sensitivity to what's happening moment by moment. Or you can just do it as you go through your life. Just notice when you're upset, you're actually reacting to certain assumptions you did. For example, someone you may think, okay, this coworker, my boss, or someone, did this and that made me feel, well, if you can see it in a different way, you can prove to yourself that the emotional reaction you're having is actually some way you can cooperate with it or not. But what I'm saying in this video is way deeper than that. I'm saying that the actual reality you see, it is created by thinking. And again, you may think, okay, that sounds like the law of attraction or something like that. If you know my channel, I don't mean it that way at all. And yet, I mean, yes, you can be free and you can live a life full of, what do you want? Peace, love. What do you want, really, in the end? What do you want the relationships for? What do you want the job for? What do you want the money for? What do you want? Everything you want, you just want it to feel peace, to feel love. And that's the only thing that matters. The rest of the world can disappear. And the world literally disappears when you start shifting your attention from the danger of the problems of the survival and really understanding how we are creating our own experiences. And I'm not saying to deny the world. I'm saying to see for what it is. All the time through history also happens that wars, the whole thing, the whole human drama at small scale or big scale, our suffering is created because we don't see that we are creating it. We don't see the moment where you depart from reality and we go into our own interpretation of the world. And the fact that we don't see the split moment, it makes us feel that there's just this reality outside of us, and then we feel really bad about it. But the only way of getting out of that illusion is to understand where the illusion is really. And the illusion is not, I'm talking about the suffering, it is not out there really. The illusion is happening in your own mind, in your own perception. So you need to catch yourself complaining. Complain about, just catch yourself and that's just not true. Your mind wants to be true. And I imagine many people getting angry at me saying this, but no, that's not true. And if you cannot accept that, you're going to feel always a victim in a vicious loop of life. That's what is called samsara in Buddhism. You just reincarnate all the time. By that, meaning that you relive again these horrible people you find that create the same sense of victimism. And there are different people you find through your life. But why this person always finds this kind of person? Well, these things happen. Well, I'm not saying react to the situation. If, let's say, you're crossing the street and a car comes, of course, jump. I'm not saying start thinking this is just a simulation. No. There's this practical aspect of it. I'm not denying. Please, if there is violence, please do react accordingly and establish peace and be nice and protect and love. But on the other hand, your suffering, if you think about your suffering, it's mostly created by your work, your job, your relationships in it, your relationships outside of it, your idea of how your life should be, your past. Your actual suffering is created by anything but a direct situation. It's always created indirectly. So the cause is a very hard thing to see because it's the inverse of what we want it to be. But that's where the freedom is. When you can see the inversion of this horrible situation you're living in, it is actually based on a first interpretation you do very quickly and unconscious level. If you get to see that, wow, you're ahead of everyone. And you may not feel that you're completely getting this. I've been practicing for a long time, and I think I will keep practicing as far as I'm alive, and then the same for my teachers. So I'm not this as much as I simplify it to make it understandable. This actually is not. It's okay if sometimes you find yourself suffering, but the power and your freedom is based on you were able to invert the projection of you being a victim and understand your internal processes and understand the root cause deep inside of your mind on how you create that, how at least 90% of that experience you're living, 90% of that suffering, 90%, this is again science, 90% of your suffering is self created. This is hard to feel, but you can clearly see that's the only way of escaping it by understanding your agency and how you are making it. So the point in this video it is, or whether you meditate, I have all the videos to explain that, or just simply as you go through your life, if you understand this, what I'm saying, if you understand what you're seeing is not exactly real, and your interpretation, again, go to perception science, go to whatever inspires you to see that this world is a simulation in the sense that this is not completely actually real. It's the projection of something else. And then you will start looking for that something else inside of you. And that something else is the blueprint. You have the blueprint of what you're experiencing all the time. So find it. Find the blueprint. And I would tell you even let it go and see what happens. Because the surprise that is there to welcome everyone back in heaven is that when you release that, you realize that it's just a profound fight against death, against things not going the way you want. It's just a profound fight. But once you release it, the only thing that is there is peace and contentment. And you realize that that's not something any circumstances is really going to kill. Nothing's going to take that out of you. That's real power. Nothing or no one can take out of you your peace and your loving attitude. Even the hardest thing, even the most hateful people in this world, still will get only love out of you every day, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. So you are just trying to see what's real. The only way of escaping the simulation of waking up from the dream is to see what's real. And what is it that is real? Well, if you feel you're suffering in some way, probably this is way if to see what is not real, to notice these patterns of inconsistency in your perception and your reactions. And the way your mind tells you this is the truth. Are you sure that's the case? Most of the time you don't know what you're saying. You're just making assumptions trying to justify your bad feelings, which is just a vicious circle. No, you have no idea about anything. Neither do I. That's where the power is.